you know, the ulama, they said that the hukum that has been set to be a sign on something, you know, to deliver something. And they gave, we last time talked about sabab. The sabab, we said that it is anything that leads to something else. That's a cause and the reason for something, which comes after. It's like the English cause and effect. So every effect has a cause. So sabab here is the reason behind something. And these reasons, that's why if you remember and recall early, for those who were the brothers who used to be with us in studying some fundamental concepts of fiqh and some fundamental concepts of the deen, one of the signs of fulfilling and complying to the sunnah is to comply to the sunnah in the reason behind the ibadah done. Because if this reason was not known from the sharia, it cannot be established as an act of worship. And we can give an example, many examples to this. The reason behind, the Salat of Dhuhr is the advent, or the sun passing the zenith. So this is a reason. And this reason is in the Sharia. And we mentioned with regard to the sabab that any reason or reasonable thing that could have been done at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, anything that has a reason at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and it hasn't been done, okay? It hasn't been done with no prevention to have it being done. This is a rule actually in Sharia, and this rule goes all along with the, with the essence of the concepts of Sharia as a whole. So the ulama, they said, you can take it as a rule, anything that had a reason at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, and it had not been done at his time, ﷺ, and there was no prevention whatsoever, there was no prevention, from doing it at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, then doing it after his lifetime, ﷺ, would be an innovation. Like what? We will just give examples for some salats or some issues that had occurred after the Prophet ﷺ. At the time of Umar radiallahu anhu, established the congregational salah for Taraweeh, for the night prayers in Ramadan, early night prayers. And this Taraweeh was not done in congregation in Jama'ah at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, except for a short period, and it was not done at the time of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu at all. When Umar radiallahu anhu came and he found the people, they are so fond to do salats in the masjid, and they were individual, everyone is doing his salah by his own, he figured it out that from the Sharia that the Prophet ﷺ, when the Sahaba came and made salah behind him 2 days or 3 days, or in a narration, the 4th night or the 3rd night, he did not ﷺ come to them, and they bibbled, bibbled through to the wall or to the door of the Prophet ﷺ, so that he will come, out. And the Prophet ﷺ came out and told them that he had known that they were there, but he said, ﷺ, that the best of salah, voluntary salah or supererogatory salah, done at homes. And he was afraid that the salah of Taraweeh would be obligatory on them. It would be compulsory, due to the fact that, the Sahaba came behind him to do it in Jama'ah. And the Prophet ﷺ was afraid that Allah will prescribe it on them. At the time of Umar, when he returned back doing this in Jama'ah, he figured out that it cannot be any more obligatory. So the reason behind the Salah to be done at the time of the Prophet ﷺ was there. To collect together the people to do Salah in Ramadan behind the Imam. However, at the time of Umar, at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ stopped from doing that so that it won't be an obligation on them, an obligatory on them. Umar, he said, the deen has completed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had completed it and had perfected it for the Ummah. So there will be no obligation. It cannot come as a duty or wajib on the Ummah. So he established the Salah in Jama'ah. So this is to elaborate on the sabab. Why they are talking about the sabab, in because a Muslim should realize and know that the sabab of the ibadah, or the reason behind the legislation, whether it is fixed punishment, whether it is an act of worship, whether it is something pertaining to Sharia, these reasons must have its proofs and evidences from the Sharia. And these evidences are, with regard to the reason, is not in the hand of the mukallaf, of the individuals, or of the people. This is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it. Like the Hajj. Hajj has its timings. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made these timings as a reason for the Hajj. So nobody can sit for Hajj, outside of the months of Hajj. So if somebody, for example, would declare going to make Hajj in Rajab, and he would reach Kaaba, it would be told to him, do Umrah, because you cannot do Hajj, the grand pilgrimage, because actually both are kind of Hajj, but when the people say Hajj, they meant, the grand pilgrimage or the Al-Hajj. So Al-Hajj is known to have a reason, and these reasons were the months of Hajj, the Qa'dah, Shawwal and Al-Qa'dah and Al-Hajj. Okay. So he mentioned here with the reasons, okay, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the inclination of the sun from the zenith as a reason behind doing the dhuhr, and so, okay. And he said, breaking an oath, whether that's a vow one makes, or half, his person swears, on something to do. For example, if someone swears to sever his, kith and kin, so it is haram to do that, but, he has to do kaffara and to be dutiful to his kith and kin. If, for example, someone swears, on something and he couldn't make it, or as the Prophet ﷺ, he used to say that I might swear on something and I would prefer to do something more, righteous. Then he would expiate for such, make kafara, make expiation for such an oath, and he would do that which is closer to piety or to taqwa. I hope my voice is clear to you, huh?
Yes, yeah, yes.
Okay. The iddah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the waiting period, okay, for the woman. He has made a reason for that, which is the divorce. So if the divorce is pronounced, then the iddah comes. Like the maintenance, the nafaqa on the woman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the divorce in the first time and the second time to be an obligation to spend over the woman during her iddah. But if it is the third, in the Sharia, if one divorces his wife the third, there is no nafaqah for her. Okay? So he has made the third as a reason for the cancellation of, spending over her and maintaining her or giving her, maintenance during her iddah after the third divorce, and so on. For example, the intoxicants that intoxicates the mind, was known only wine and its ingredients, whether it was from grapes at the time or from dates. But now it's known that there are so many intoxicants. Then anything that intoxicates with analogy to the khamr becomes forbidden. And alhamdulillah, even we have, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the reason for forbidding anything is, being intoxicant. So this is a reason, sabab, and so on. We talked also about, he spoke about al-daruriyat and al-hajiyat and the tahsiniyat, and he mentioned that the deen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has completed it and perfected it, and he has, guarded and protected the daruriyat. And we said the daruriyat are the five, collective or generalities Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted to preserve and protect, and it is the soul. So the soul of human being as a whole is preserved, especially the soul of the Muslim. And the Prophet ﷺ said when he went to Haram, to Mecca or the Kaaba, he said, indeed, you are so sanctuarized or, sacred to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but the soul of the Muslim is more sacred, than you, means than the Kaaba. And thus, we say that the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has preserved and protected the soul. And those who are given the, the covenant, or they are coming, non-Muslims, they are being sheltered and being protected by the Islamic State, their souls become also protected. Okay? The religion, no doubt that the religion Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted its protection for the Muslims. And even when the Ahl al-Dhimma, the people of the book, become under the custody and the control or the government, the Islamic government, their religion would be protected for them, and nobody should do anything or harm them in their, we can say in their places of worship, if it was, approved by the Islamic State, or in their houses. If they do their, deen inside their houses, nobody, without, no doubt, annoying or disturbing others, in a very secrecy way, it's there, okay? It's theirs, and the Sharia will protect them to do that, or granted them, to have that in their churches. If these churches were approved by the Islamic State, by being, protecting themselves and giving up, to the Islamic rulership, and the rulership opened this land through treaty with them, then it will be secured for them. And it's evident and obvious. You can see, till now, from the time of Uthman radiallahu anh, the churches which were in Egypt and those were in Syria at the time of Umar radiallahu anh, they are still being functioning till now with their names and with their places. The intelligence, he said here, or the mind, or the sound reasoning, and human being mind should be protected, to be sound, not to be. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbade intoxicants all over. The wealth of the person, whatever he possesses, is under his possession and it's protected for him by the Sharia, and nobody can take it from him. Uh, to the extent that the Sharia, subhanAllah, it came with, as we said, uh, so protective measures to protect the wealth of the person. To the extent that if someone, for example, by mistake now, he, instead of, depositing money for A person, by being mistaken in one number, he deposited his money to B person. So if they go to the judge, and this person might go to the bank and ask this person, get his number to get his money back. But if this person, he said, it's your fault, if he would raise the case to the, to the judge will rule it out that the person who has paid the money, has the proofs, or you can say he has the argument. And the other person, if he would argue and say, he has bought a car from me, he has bought something from me, and that was, and I don't have any proof. He has it, he owns it. He owns the car. He has to show me the car or something. Or he has to show me the article, especially if there is no documents. Like now there are documents, it can be proven the cars, but maybe in the past it was difficult. For example, a person would give his maybe this was 30 years back, nobody would care about the documents. He'd give him his car and that's it, or 35 years. So this person would demand his money, and the judge would say to the person who gave the money, where's your proof? That he said, I don't have my proof. He said, then say, Wallahi, by mistake I gave my money, or I deposited my money to his bank account, and the Sheikh will force that person who took the money, okay, who cannot prove that he sold anything, to give the money back to that person. And in preservation of the sharaf, the honor, which is not only the progeny here only carry the meaning of descendants, but the honor goes even to the person himself, and to his wife, to his mother, to his daughters, and to his offspring. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has protected that, and nobody should slander or even backbite a person, okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guarded all of these 5 matters with a very, very strict and fixed rules and laws in the Sharia. And if a person won't or miss the judgment in this life, he would be judged, may Allah save us, on the day of judgment, and that day there will be no expiation for such things, or excuses or pardoning from other parties, except he will take from his hasanat and deeds. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save it from that. Save us from that. Hajiyat, he said, those matters, okay, that are needed to facilitate the life of the people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it easy. In the trade, in the rental and the commerce, okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the social, or what you can say, the transactions, and dealings amongst people. He has facilitated it and made it easy unto them. And one of also the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made easy is breaking the fast during travel and shortening salats. The tahsiniyat is the things that improve human beings' lives, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the laws of cleanliness very, very clear in the Sharia, and we have come to realize how magnificent, and how great the cleanliness and the purifications, rules in fiqh and in, Sharia established how very hygienic and very healthy life would a Muslim be if he would abide by. Okay. He mentioned also to this regard on page 50, he said the laws, or some laws is better to say, that depend on reasons and not wisdom. And we said to say not wisdom, again, I told you, not fully knowing the wisdom behind it. But everyone can know the wisdom behind any law and behind any sabab and reason. Today our class starts as Sheikh Abdul Majid Jazakallah Khair pointed in the announcement. We should start on page 51. This was just
I will read, Sheikh.
Yes, read from page 51. Jazakallah.
I think your voice is breaking, Sheikh. Is it a problem on your internet or mine?
Wallahi, I don't know. We have to.
Brother Feroz, you can hear my voice? We cannot hear you, Sheikh. Is it break? Your voice is breaking or mine?
Yeah. Let me ask
No,
Brother Feroz.
I think both are very clear for me.
Okay, so you may be Sheikh Abdul Majid your side.
Okay, great.
Both are very clear.
Okay, it was very clear.
Okay,
during the class was very clear.
Okay, great.
Abdul Majid's always clear.
Okay, mashallah.
Okay.
Jazakallah.
MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alamin. Shall I read, Sheikh?
Yes, go ahead.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We are on page 51. Second type of hukum wadi'i is shurut, the conditions. In the Arabic language, the singular of shurut is shart, and the singular of ashrat is sharat, which means a sign. Technically, the shart,
Sharat,
yeah, the shart, yeah, shart.
Sharat. Actually, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, sharat. Yeah. Okay. Ashrat is sharat.
Technically,
yes.
the shart, yes. Shart is whatever necessitates by its absence, the absence of something else. The shart is whatever necessitates by its absence, the absence of something else, without necessitating by its existence in and of itself, the existence or the absence of that thing. For example, purification is a condition for the validity of salah. The absence of purification necessitates the non-existence of salah according to the Sharia. But the existence of purification by itself does not necessitate the existence of salah. A person may have purification without being obliged to perform salah. Let me continue now the footnotes. I'll read over again. Shart, shurut, condition. In the Arabic language, the singular of shurut is shart. Technically, the shart is whatever necessitates by its absence, the absence of something else, without necessitating by its existence, in and of itself, the existence or the absence of that thing. For example, purification is a condition for the validity of salah. The absence of purification necessitates the non-existence of salah according to Sharia. But the existence of purification by itself does not necessitate the existence of salah. A person may have purification without being obliged to perform salah. Now, shall I read the footnote 68, 69, and 70, Sheikh?
Yeah, let me go over this shortly. and then you can go to
Right.
the footnote.
Right.
Jazakallah khair. Because subhanallah, يعني in Arabic, the shart is very short. They said ما يلزم من وجوده الوجود ولا يلزم من وجوده العدم ولا يلزم من وجوده الوجود ولا العدم لذاته, or something like this. The problem is a bit philosophical way. So he said, when he did, first of all, the linguistic meaning of shart is known condition. Condition, huh? In the Arabic language, the shurut is a plural of shart, and shart means, you know, the condition, a condition of something. The ashrat is actually like ashrat al-sa'a, it's plural, and the singular is sharat, which means the sign, okay? Ashrat al-sa'a. Now, he said the shart definition, okay, is whatever necessitates by its absence, the absence of something else. And this shart, if it is absent, then the other thing which is built on that condition cannot exist, okay? However, if it is present, this is why he said without necessitating by its existing, okay, the existence or absence of that thing. And we would say that a person might have wudu, okay, and this wudu, so it is a condition for salah, but it doesn't mean having wudu, salah is there. Salah is now done, because salah is outside of the shart. The condition precedes, you know, the thing that's necessary for. Not unlike rukn. You see, a rukn is part of the, you know, or part of the matter. Part of salah is rukn, but shart is outside of the matter. So, يعني some ulama they would say shart هو الجزء خارج الماهية. خارج, it's outside, you know, outside the matter that condition is needed for. So whatever, you know, thing that shart, if it is absent, then the other thing is absent, because no salah would be valid without wudu. However, if a person he has made wudu, the condition is there, it doesn't mean the salah is done or the salah exists unless he does salah by itself, okay? He gave her the example, again, let's read it. For example, he said, wudu is a condition for the validity of salah. So the absence of wudu necessitates the non-existence of salah according to the sharia. And if a person, for example, made salah without wudu, his salah would not be valid according to the sharia, as if it is not in existence. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said, La salata liman. Huh? If we would say that, you know, La salata la wudu'a liman lam yadhkur isma Allahi alayh. There is no wudu valid for the one who does not say, you know, the name of Allah on it. And the ulama started to say, is basmala a condition for the wudu, or it is, you know, a pillar, part of the wudu? And the ulama, they said it's, you know, because this hadith, and some ulama, they said it's not, and it doesn't comply to what's known from the teaching of the Prophet ﷺ direct. So they said there is no complete, there's no complete wudu, or sorry, not to complete, to say there is no tamam. Tamam is less than, it's more perfect wudu to be done by with the name of Allah. But if one does not, for a reason, he forgot to say Bismillah during his wudu is still valid, but less perfect than saying Bismillah with it. So, but however, the wudu is not like the basmala in the wudu. So he who does not, la salati man la wudu alah, there is no salah for the person who does not do wudu or have wudu. The person who is not in state of tahara, he will not have, okay, he will not have salah valid, okay, at all. So now if we would say this person has made salah and after he finished the salah, he remembered that he was not doing wudu. Such salah is not regarded in Sharia. So it was done. The non-existence of salah in accordance to Sharia means it is not valid. He has done salah, but this salah is as if he has not done it at all because it's not valid due to the fact that the condition was not met. Okay. He said, but the existence of wudu by itself does not necessitate the existence of salah. And if someone, for example, has done wudu, it doesn't mean that salah by doing that wudu is done or has existed, because salah is separate and outside the wudu. Okay. He said the person may have purification without being obliged to perform salah. If someone, for example, was, prepared to do wudu, he wants to be prepared for duha prayer. So he made wudu after the sun had risen, high, and he didn't do salah. He has not done duha. Even his intention is to do duha unless he does it. Now, if he was with such purity or with such tahara and wudu, he can stay till Asr. But by the commencement of Dhuhr, he is in tahara, but does not mean that salah, had done by him, unless he does it. Okay, he has the condition satisfied, but salah is not done. Okay, you can go to the, inshallah, to the footnotes, number 69 and 70. Do you hear? Yes.
Footnote number 68, 68.
Okay, go ahead.
Footnote number 68, the rukun pillar also necessitates by its absence the absence of the law, like the shart. However, the rukun is a part of the actual act, while the shart is external to it. Footnote number 69, the salah could be invalidated by the absence of other factors, like the rising or setting of the sun. Footnote number 70, there must be other factors present and not the shart alone. Categories of shart. Number 1, shart wujub, obligating condition. For example, the passage of a year, which is the shart for the obligation of zakah. Number 2, shart sihha, validating condition. For example, tahara, ritual purification, is a shart for the validity of salah. It is possible for a single factor to both an obligating condition as well as a validating condition, like the entrance of the time period for prayer. Evidences for the shart: negation of the second with the absence of the first. For example, the Prophet ﷺ statement narrated by Abu Musa, La nikaha illa bi waliyin. No marriage is valid without a guardian. This text indicates that the guardian is a condition necessary for the validity of marriage. Marriage, the second part, is negated in the absence of the guardian, the first. Second, evidence, a legal text declaring it as shart. Third, ijma', consensus on it being a shart. For example, the scholars' consensus on facing the qibla and covering the awra are two conditions for the validity of prayer. 4. Presence of a prohibition in an act of worship or a contract. This is only an evidence for those who hold that the prohibition necessitates corruption and invalidation. Would you like to go
Okay.
over it, Sheikh?
Yes, inshallah. طيب, nice here he mentioned and elaborated on what we mentioned in footnote number 68, and he said he mentioned the rukn, and we mentioned something like this, that the rukn is part of the the matter, while the shart is external to it. Like the pillars of salah is inside the salah. So what are the pillars of salah? Like takbiratul ihram, okay, like standing position, okay, while one has the ability, like the Surah Al-Fatiha, okay, like ruku', like raising from ruku', like sujood, and so on. These are arkan. It's part of the salah. But there are shurut, okay, which is outside of the salah. So like the shart condition, we mentioned tahara is outside of salah. And there are other shurut, okay, for salah. It's just an example, not to limit the shart of salah on only wudu, okay. The salah, he said, could be invalidated by the absence of other factors, as he said, like the rising or setting of the sun, okay. This was 69 when he said that purification is the existence of salah. Because that the Prophet ﷺ, he has prohibited to do salah, okay, during the setting or rising of the sun, okay. So if a person would do salah at that time, it would be invalid salah, okay. Unless it is an obligation he has to do, he missed and he remembered at that time, this is an exception. But other voluntary salats to be done during the rising and the setting of the sun, some ulama, they said this salah would be invalid salah, okay. And if a person insists, did it deliberately and he knows the hukum, it would be, a sin. Allah saves. He mentioned here the shart, that the shurut are divided into two categories, shart wujub, shart sahha. The shart obligating condition, and he gave an example to the passage of a year, okay, is a shart for the obligation of zakah, together with the shart that the money has reached, the quota, the nisab. So we have two conditions for salah to be, to have the zakah as obligatory in a person. The shart al-wujub is not only the year elapsed, but also the quota of the zakah should also be there. So we have here shart al-wujub. Shart al-sihha, the validating condition, is like the tahara for the salah, or like shart al-sihha, and that the salah should be done at its time after the or towards the qibla, the condition, the satr al-awra, as he mentioned down. He said he gave some evidences for the shart. He said if something is negated, like we said, la salata liman la wudu'a lah. So there is no salah means valid, or it could, because when we say la salah except with so and so, this we should realize that negating the salah could negate its existence or negate its validity in Sharia. Negating its existence might not be true, because sometimes a person might make salah without wudu. We would say it's, this negation here means it's the negation of its validity, okay? So there is no salah without wudu. Here also, the Prophet ﷺ said there is no nikah, no marriage would take place, would be valid, okay, would be a legal nikah without a guardian, okay, without wali, okay. And this wali, if a woman, like a woman who just embraced Islam and she has no one of her relatives is a Muslim, what would she do? Can she, for example, go and, you know, get herself married to any other person without a guardian? The ulama, they said, the ruler of the Muslims at that place, or his representatives, a judge, or, you know, a director of an Islamic center, or an imam of a masjid, can be her wali in that situation, okay? So in such situations, the wali here, why wali is needed for the woman? Because he would care, you know, to direct her and advise her, you know, to marry the right person. And he would also be a witness, okay, on and to guarantee taking her rights. The mahar should be, you know, should be declared unknown and should be given to the woman. And he would be a sincere advisor to his, you know, if she is his daughter, he will not get her in marriage to anybody unless he knows this person. If the woman might get deceived, you know, by any person and think that she can marry anyone, but the wali, the guardian, might see that this person is not fitting to marry her because he's not either religious, he's not keeping his duties to Allah, or something like that. He said a legal text declaring it is a shart, okay? And if we find, you know, a legal text in Sharia saying this is shart, and the Prophet ﷺ, he invalidated the conditions that were set without legitimate reason. And this was like in the incident where Aisha radiallahu anha asked the Prophet ﷺ that, O Messenger of Allah, I want to free such and such and emancipate a slave, and this slave, you know, she was under the custody of another, you know, family, another Muslim family, and they said, okay, we would, you know, set her free, but with the condition. They set a condition that they will be the wala, the loyalty of such woman would be theirs. And why the loyalty? Because if this woman would die, those old masters, you know, will be her heirs. Aisha radiallahu anha, she said to the Prophet ﷺ that they set such condition. And the Prophet ﷺ, you know, went later on the pulpit and he said, why some people would set conditions or shurut, which is not in the book of Allah and his Sharia. There is no shart valid unless it is approved by Sharia, even if it is 100 shart. And in this regard is the shart of a woman, of some man marrying a woman in the what's so-called misyar. If he would say, okay, I'll marry you with a condition that I won't, you know, maintain you or spend over you. The ulama, they said this condition, if this woman, for example, she gives her right of maintaining her, you know, just to marry him, and later she said, I cannot spend over myself and he has to maintain me, she can go and appeal to the court, and this condition is invalid as per Sharia, because part of the marriage in Sharia is spending over the woman, you know, the man has to spend over the woman. Okay? طيب, إجماع, he said if there is إجماع from the Ummah that this is a shart. And usually the إجماع is based on, no doubt, based on an evidence. He said, for example, the scholars' consensus or unanimity on facing the Qibla and covering the Awra as two conditions for the validity of Salah. And this is known from the Sharia. The presence of the prohibition in an act of worship or a contract. This is only, he said, an evidence for those who hold that the prohibition states corruption and invalidation. يعني some ulama, for example, they said the salah, for example, salah, you know, it's forbidden for a person to make salah while he's wearing a thobe or a cloak that has impurities, because it's prohibited. So say if someone was, you know, he was having his imama, okay, his turban over his head, or a cap, and this cap was polluted by impurities, okay? So this impurity, you know, is an invalidator, or it's prohibited to pray with such thing. Does it invalidate Salah? No. The ulama, they said if he has not remembered except after he finished his Salah, it's not like the wudu. He can, his Salah is valid and he's forgiven because he was, you know, out of forgetfulness. Now say inside Salah, he remembered that his turban has, or his cap, he was dressed in a cap, you know, or a turban, that it has impurity, then he has to remove it at that stance. If it is a cloak that he can get rid of and he still have, you know, another garment underneath which conceals his private parts, then his salah is valid. However, if by, you know, by putting off such, you know, such cloak, his aura will be displayed, or such garment, we would say your salah is invalid and redo your salah. Okay, redo your salah, get off the salah and redo it. Okay. Now he said presence of the prohibition and talking. We are done with this. If you want to go to Al-Mani', Brother Sheikh Abdul Majid, are you with us?
Yes, sir. I think another 4 minutes for the Adhan. I
okay.
think we start in the next class. Can you open for question time, Sheikh?
Yes, it's nice. Jazakallah khair to remind us.
Yes, I have a question, Sheikh. You are discussing about the wali for a lady. In case there is an awul, in the sense, you know, the wali is stopping her or blocking her to get married. So what will be the remedy for this lady, Sheikh, in this instance?
Okay. The ulama, they said, you know, if the wali, the guardian, makes adl, it's called adl, a, dad, and lam, adl. The adl, okay, or the prevention, if he would prevent or stop his daughter or his sister from marrying, and he is the wali, then his wilaya would be directly invalid, and it will be, you know, it will be directed or given to the court, to the judge. And this woman, she should go to the judge and, you know, complain about her wali not, you know, stopping her or barring her from marrying. If it is a general, he doesn't want to give her in marriage, then this has a rule, and the judge will force him, why you don't want to get her to marry? He would say, for example, he would give his reasons. If his reasons are justifiable, this is something else. If it is not, then the judge, he would say, if, qualified, good, person would come and propose your daughter, then you have to give him in marriage. Otherwise, I would take the guardianship and I would, make her to marry. And sometimes, actually, if the judge will call him to the court and he would force him to sign his, an agreement to get her in marriage. And I have seen this in front of my eyes in the court. Once I was in the court and the judge was brought by a woman came to him, and sure, that was not the first hearing. It was after many hearings. To marry, okay, to get me in marriage to this person. So the Sheikh asked him, why you don't want to get her in marriage? And he gave, an unreasonable, answer. And the Sheikh forced him to sign a paper, that he doesn't want. Either he signs the agreement, if I was not mistaken, or to sign on the contract. Okay, I was not quite sure whether was it the other way or this. And he made him to sign that he refused to give her in marriage. So the adl will be declared, in front of the judge, upon the signature, by the signature of the guardian, and the judge will take the lead and, give her in marriage to that person, or he made the sign of the marriage. So this is it. Any question? Was that clear, Sheikh
That's
Abdul
all,
Majid?
Sheikh. Inshallah, we'll wind up, inshallah. Yes, clear, Sheikh. That will wind up, inshallah.
Inshallah. Okay.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh.
Amen. Sheikh Nabil, do you have any question? Okay, maybe Sheikh Nabil cannot hear us maybe. طيب, جزاكم الله خير, and may Allah bless you for attending. Alhamdulillah. We have the recording for those brothers who didn't attend. You can, inshallah, post it in the group later, inshallah. جزاكم الله خير. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Inshallah, Sheikh. وإياك. عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته, Sheikh.